TUSC, Trade Union and Socialist Coalition, and it's a national organisation that's standing 100 candidates in this May's general election. All of whom are committed to, if they were to win, only accepting the wage of a skilled worker in their area, so not the inflated salary and bonus package plus pensions that our current crop of MPs enjoy. Well, it's three reasons really. The first is I want to do something to try and unite the left. There's a lot of left-wing organisations, but they seem to spend more time fighting each other than fighting what I think is the real enemy, the condemned government, the forces of neoliberalism. We need to work together. We can't afford the luxury of infighting anymore. We need to find a way of uniting in a similar way to the people of Greece and Spain are beginning to develop. And I think this is an opportunity for us to begin to do that here in Bethnal Green and Bow. We have a very rich tradition in Tower Hamlets of united action, of resistance, of rebellion even, and I think we can write another chapter in that story in this election. We need to work together more. We need to find a common way forward to challenge the austerity that seems to be the only thing on offer from the other mainstream political parties. The second reason is linked, I suppose, is that I feel we must challenge New Labour. We must challenge the ground on which they're seeking to stand. As things currently appear in Bethnal Green and Bow, they will have a clear run. So they won't be held to account for their record in government for 13 years when, for instance, Labour's housing policy, I believe, contributed significantly to the crisis that we currently face on housing in the country as a whole and in Tower Hamlets in particular. So they won't be challenged on their record in government, and nor will they be challenged on their clear intention to carry on with the austerity policies of the current government if they win the election. So we have the scenario where we can wake up and whoever has won that election, the future for this country is more or less the same as far as the politicians are concerned, which is a continual diet of privatisation, of cuts, of austerity, of racism and Islamophobia, and of war. And this is what we've become used to in this country in the last 10 to 15 years, and it's time we had a change, and that's another reason why I'm standing. And the third reason is we need to develop that political alternative. We need to be looking to other countries, to Greece and Spain and other places where they're saying we are not any longer prepared to be the victims of the financial crisis that was caused by the bankers and the politicians who supported them and bailed them out with trillions of pounds worth of public money. We're not prepared to stand by and watch them try to balance the books on the backs of the poor. We're going to fight to defend public services. We're going to fight to defend the National Health Service. We want to return to free education, and we want to see a housing policy that does not lead to a situation where 5 million people are on housing waiting lists. Well, I've just alluded to a couple of them. I think housing, again, if we leave it to the establishment political parties, will barely get a mention, and yet I think if you spoke to a sample of people, certainly in Tower Hamlets, but in many parts of the country, and especially London and the South East, they would say that housing is the #1 political issue, the #1 issue for them in terms of their quality of life, of their futures. The fact that they cannot find a decent, affordable, secure home in the area that they want to live in is an enormous problem for millions of people, and yet our politicians have almost nothing constructive to say about that. Now, I've worked in housing for over 20 years. I've campaigned on housing issues for the same period of time. And so I'm going to be talking a lot about housing in this campaign and saying that there is a way out of the crisis, and there are ways that we can control our housing policy instead of allowing it to be controlled by the so-called market. So housing is a massive issue, and particularly here in Bethnal Green and Bow. But I'm also concerned that this election could prove to be one of the most divisive and racist elections for many years. Now, obviously, the threat of UKIP is certainly a threat, as far as I'm concerned, of an extreme right-wing organisation that uses racism and Islamophobia to promote its political message, is something that we cannot allow to go unchallenged. And again, I'm concerned that a lot of the mainstream parties pander to UKIP. We in TUSC will not do that. We are very clear that immigrants, migrants, people from other countries are not to blame for the financial crisis, and not to blame for the state of the NHS or the fact that we have not enough genuinely affordable housing in this country. That is the result of deliberate government policies since 2008 in an effort to dismantle the post-war welfare state, and we're going to fight to defend it. And we're asking anybody who wants to join us in that fight to vote TUSC